What's good, y'all? It's your online burned out uncle here, and while everyone else was out in the real world committing conspiracy to hide potential life on other planets, I've been reading some manga. We live in a world where we're spoiled for choice. Regardless of your choice of media consumption, there's not only more content generated than can be consumed at any given point, but we also have a significant vault of classics to fall back on. I find myself consuming most forms of media: music, video games, movies, shows, animations, books, and even manga. I subscribe to different platforms which give me unlimited access to these media collection, if not for free, then for small fees. YouTube, Crunchyroll, Hulu, a digital library card for any library in the great state of Texas, and the Shonen Jump app. Viz Media, the American publishing hand of Shueisha, created an app with an almost free price tag to compete with the internet's long-standing tradition of piracy of manga, rather than existing as America's third most expensive trading card delivery. In my humble opinion, this idea was genius. For $3 a month, you can get access to the backlog of all currently running Shonen Jump manga, as well as a sizable backlog of the magazine's history. I had the privilege of rereading Kaguya Love is War so I could get caught up before the manga reached its conclusion, reading Chainsaw Man and Spy Family as they released, finding out what happens in One Punch Man after Season 2, finally rereading Naruto to see what happens after Madara is introduced since I fell off as a youngster around that point, and reading all of One Piece because I could read on my phone through this app and feel like I was contributing to this art form financially without really hurting the bank. So, last week, I decided I should find a new series to read in the app to keep justifying the subscription to the service. I always wanted to read Yu Yu Hakusho. Would I finally take that plunge? Wait, what do you mean it's not in the digital library?
No, you're going to have to buy it volume by volume. You're also going to have to buy Homestuck volume by volume. I hope that wasn't going to be a problem for you.
Extra Shoddy has been reading Hunter x Hunter. Should I do the same and compare it to the anime? Would I read one of the many spin-off series to some of the most popular manga of all time? Would I read Jujutsu Kaisen in anticipation of the new season of anime releasing? Would I finally read that one-off look back that's been in my to-read list for like the last year? I read Dragon Ball. I picked Dragon Ball. Not Dragon Ball Super, the series I only have exposure to through the movies and the memes, but the original 1980s series that started it all. I don't know, man. Editing all the Little Gator Game content with all the DBZ references and Power Fighter Z and all the Raccoon nonsense got me feeling like it had been too long.
In the entire world right now.
I'm no stranger to Dragon Ball. During the 90s and 2000s, it was like Toonami was the only channel on the glowing box that could kill me if it decided to perform a trust fall. I remember Dragon Ball Z being the show all the boys in the schoolyard would talk about. One day on the playground, I heard mention of another Dragon Ball Z show on Toonami that I somehow was missing. But it was about when Goku was a kid? I made sure to tune in that evening, and there it was, Dragon Ball. From there, I would watch as it aired, but for some reason, I don't really recall seeing the anime past the Goku vs. Tenshinhan match. Years later, I read through the volumes in my high school library, and since even then, I've had many of the show's highlights drilled into my mind, just being immersed in online nerd culture. So yeah, I can't really explain what compelled me to reread this series, but I guess I was just feeling nostalgic because, man, I dove in. This reading of Dragon Ball had me realize something though. This was my first time experiencing the Piccolo arc. I knew all the important beats that occur. Spoilers for a manga that's almost 40 years young, and let's be honest, it looks absolutely stunning for its age. Krillin dies? It was a demon that killed him, spawn of Piccolo, who wants to be young and powerful. Piccolo gets his wish, Goku kills him, Goku trains with Kami, Goku fights Piccolo Jr. at the tournament and wins. I actually did read volume 16 of Dragon Ball in high school and knew all the plot points that came before it, but I can't explain how I knew them in such detail without watching or reading them firsthand. It was also in this rereading that I realized an important distinction. For my whole existence, I had thought the transition of the Dragon Ball series from an action-adventure romp to the godfather of power escalation and villain of the week style storytelling occurred when moving from Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z. However, I would now argue the tonal shift that occurs right after the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai conclusion was the true line in the sand. Before the panels which cover the events of the 22nd tournament, the manga was effortlessly lighthearted. Every antagonist has silly motives, or if they had grand motives of conquering the world, they were wholly incompetent. The only real dark moment I felt highlighted was the murder of Bora, Upa's dad, at the hand of the Red Ribbon Army. Yet this doesn't really take on a dark tone because Goku cheerfully goes on to collect the Dragon Balls to resurrect Upa's dad. When I say that death is the darkest moment of the first 133 chapters, I don't mean to downplay it. It's a sad moment. You know, a little boy watches his father get murdered, but it does lose weight when the death seems more like a justification for Goku to keep searching for the Dragon Balls other than to just find the 4-star ball. All the other moments in the show are just Saturday morning cartoon antics, or battles where if Goku isn't so obviously on the winning side, he lucks his way into surviving, then receiving some type of training / power-up to immediately dwarf the preceding challenge. However, Krillin's death was different. It felt heavy, and you could see it has that impact on Goku in a way where if I didn't have 20 plus years of hindsight to pull back on, I could see a world where we wouldn't really know if Krillin could come back. The panel at the beginning of chapter 135 I found especially haunting. For characters whose eyes were essentially dots with quick lines outlining the shape, Toriyama was able to express such an emptiness in Krillin's dead eyes I actually felt a little haunted. Like, this is a character that doesn't even have a nose. It's literally a major plot point at one point in the show. I don't know if you know, but he defeats someone who fights with body odor in the tournament because he realizes at age 11 that he doesn't have a nose, then he proceeds to fart on the guy to knock him unconscious. This same character, constantly used for comedic effect in his visual appearance, was so portrayed with the emptiness of a corpse, better than most other manga I've seen. From here, the manga turns into a quest for vengeance, and every arc of Dragon Ball Z that follows ends up carrying the structure forward, of taking revenge on a more competent super being and finding a way to overpower that being. I returned to Dragon Ball to find comfort in the lighthearted journey of a young character I've held close to my heart my whole life, but I came back with something far more than just nostalgic comfort. I found a new understanding and appreciation of a series I hold very dear. For all its humble beginnings, Dragon Ball truly is a quintessential shonen manga. That's pretty much all I have to say about the Dragon Ball manga. I'm sure that I could talk for hours about it, but how many countless other video essays have been made about a manga that's older than I am? If you want to see more content like this, I'm hoping to have more scripted videos. Keep it tuned in, and I'll see you next time.